everything seems to work in a rule of three nowadays. It doesn't matter if it's snap, crack, and pop, the Three Musketeers, or in the words of our founding fathers, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Welcome to 15 Time Touchdown Alabama Magazine's premier football show, live from once again the heartbeat of the University of Alabama, Rama Jama. And apparently, Ivan White Maxwell Taylor had a meeting earlier, didn't tell me about it, because it appears to me that it's Casual Thursday or Throwback Thursday. So I'm sitting here in Oklahoma, they have on t-shirts on.
We're playing Georgia State. There's no need for us to do this.
Apparently so. Shouts out to our own Maxwell Taylor for his Throwback Thursday Keith Jean Chiswick shirt that is glistening tonight. It's good to have our own Maxwell Taylor back on the show. He took a little bit of a hiatus from the show for the past couple of weeks.
I would call it an educated hiatus because I am a student at the University of Alabama and I did come here for a degree. But it's always glad to be back with Stephen and of course Ivan White, in his cup. I'm enjoying that.
We will take an education vacation. It's always good to be studious, according to Maxwell here. But it's homecoming at the University of Alabama, and though I seem to always remember homecoming being either the week of Halloween or week before, homecoming falls this week for the University of Alabama and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Before we get into all the festivities leading up to the matchup between Alabama and Georgia State, I want to recap this Ole Miss game. And guys, what a job done by that Alabama defense this past Saturday. You talk about, I saw some flashes of prior defenses. I saw some flashes of defense in the past. You had guys like Mount Cody, Rolando McClain, Dante Hightower, Courtney Upshaw, Drake Kirkpatrick. I saw an Alabama defense that got after those Rebels this past Saturday. What did you guys see?
I mean, I saw a team that came out there ready to play. They were prepared. They've been listening to what Bo Wallace had been saying the whole week, trash talking the entire week, which Bo Wallace never pulled a bull by the horns, buddy. Never do that ever again. He called out the Alabama defense. The Alabama defense said, "We're going to call your bluff," and they did. Even got a safety on there, which I knew they were over it. So excited to get that safety on them and just finally end the talk and then everybody's questioning about the team.
My thoughts exactly the same. What a dominant game by the defense. C.J. Mosley just going out there and being the quarterback out there for the defense and showing that, hey, we're still Alabama. We're still number one. And the only way to do that is to stop a high-powered offense like Ole Miss with wide receivers as Dante Moncrief and LaQuan Treadwell and stopping them at your own house, not letting them score, and at the same time getting a safety against a quarterback who was talking a bunch of smack on Twitter. It was almost priceless. And the energy in the stadium, it was just one of those Crimson Tide moments this year.
Going back to stopping the Ole Miss offense, on the show last week, Ivan mentioned that he had Jeff Scott, Ole Miss's running back, as a sleeper for the Heisman Trophy. Jeff Scott coming into the game was averaging 9.4 yards per carry on the season coming in. He had 35 carries for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. But against that Crimson Tide defense, how about this? Only 28 yards, 3.5 yards per carry. That Bama defense really took away all games from Jeff Scott.
Sounds like he was still in bed. Still asleep.
Indeed, he did take away. Unfortunately, my my theory didn't work out very well, but actually it worked out in the long run because we still got a win, and we actually got our first shot out of the season, so that was good for the Alabama Crimson Tide on top of it. Yep, I didn't see that coming, honestly. I saw us doing good, but I didn't see us doing that good and stopping Jeff Scott, stopping everybody. I at least expected Ole Miss at least get one touchdown on the board. I mean, it was just a total domination by the defense. One we haven't seen since the national title game of last year, so I was just very happy with the defense. But Jeff Scott was going a little bit lower on my total poll right now than what he was in previous weeks.
Since the national title game of last year, I'm going to go even further than that, and I'm going to go say the national title game in 2011. That was a shutdown of the defense. Not to the point of they didn't cross the 50-yard line, but just absolute domination. But Coach Hugh Freeze tested the Alabama defense, trying to say, we're going to go for it on 4th and short or 4th and long. And the Alabama defense completely cut them off every single time. Every time that stadium was just full of energy, ready to support their team. And I think that was what pushed us over the hump that game.
Going back to what Maxwell said, Hugh Freeze, what are you doing? You're supposed to take any points you can get against the number 1 team.
He poured on less miles.
And you're going for a 4th down repeatedly during the entire game. You have to take any points you can get. We said that 2 weeks ago when I believe it was Virginia, or 3 weeks ago, Virginia Tech game. We said you take any points you can get and slowly chip away at any lead or get a lead for a brief amount of time. You can't against Alabama. You're not supposed to take 4th down opportunities. This is a team that takes advantage of other teams' mistakes. They're famous for doing that.
along with Alabama's defense, really shutting down Ole Miss on third down. Ole Miss only converted 4 out of 14 third downs. A lot of freshmen got a chance to play for Alabama, and the surprise being Eddie Jackson got his first interception of his collegiate career on kind of a trick play by Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze pulled the play where Bo Wallace gives the ball to Quan Treadwell, and Treadwell tries to throw the pass down the field. Of course, Eddie Jackson read it well and got the interception. How big was his to build the confidence of Eddie Jackson? Not just him, but other freshmen that look to games to playing time to time.
Well, of course, Nick Saban always has that rules. He's not going to care about what year you are. He's only going to care if you're going to be able to produce on the field. And Eddie Jackson came out of that game with his hair on fire. Absolutely was just impressed from the start of the game all the way up to the fourth quarter, even after, especially after the targeting call that was called on him, Miss Fairley, of course. There should have been
That's the second time this has happened this season.
That is the second time that it's happened this season. Once against Clifton Dixon, Texas A&M. But what I really loved is that he shook it off, and then he came back and he made play after play after play. And it's not his individual play, it's how he worked in the coverage with his teammates. Him and HaHa were just absolutely unstoppable in the coverage on the left side of the field. It was absolutely just great to watch this defense command.
It was great to watch this game, and yes, he did step up very, very well. And Maxwell said after that targeting rule, which by the way, the targeting rule needs to be have a reevaluation.
They need to have an instant replay on that rule itself.
They need to have a reevaluation of this. I don't understand the concept, but you can keep the player in the game, but even though he didn't do anything wrong, we're still going to give you 15-yard penalty just for the heck of it. But I progressed from that situation. We're just going to keep winning that. NCAA, y'all can deal with that. But he did step up this game. I was honestly a little worried when, even though he had a comfortable lead at 17, I believe it was 16 or 18 to nothing at that point, and I was still comfortable with the lead. I still didn't want him to be out for the next game because I said this is a building block game for him, and with this game he can go on to the next game, Georgia State, which is definitely going to be a game. He'll definitely have a bigger coming out party than he did against Ole Miss. So I was really happy that he kept him in the game, and I feel like it's slowly going to build toward him. I feel like at LSU, that could be the main show. He can finally show everything he's got.
He can definitely show everything these guys correct out. Alabama's defense did. They forced 2 turnovers, got the safety, shut out Ole Miss 25-0. That's the defense. Let's get to the offensive side of the ball and what Alabama did. Against Colorado State, Alabama only had 51 yards rushing. Against Ole Miss, how about 254 yards rushing? T.J. Yeldon, 17 carries, 121 yards, which included a 68-yard spin move off an Ole Miss defender and took it 68 yards to pay her. And on the other side, Kenyon Drake saying, you try to do one good, I can do one better. Kenyon Drake had 12 carries, 99 yards, including a 50-yard run to pay her. So Alabama, the offensive line, did assert themselves this past week against Ole Miss, getting 254 yards on the ground via Yeldon and Kenyon Drake. And Maxwell, starting with you, how do you think the 2 running backs did against Ole Miss?
Well, I don't want to say that they did up to what they're capable of doing. I thought that this was the game that finally showcased their talent. And it really wasn't until the second half that the running backs really started to come alive. And really, I think it's with the center Ryan Kelly going down, really, and having Chad Lindsey there as a veteran center and there to command his offensive line.
He really stepped up in that
yes,
game.
he did very step up, that the running game was able to produce. And that's really what Alabama needs to be focusing on, having the running game produce. We know the passing game can produce, but we don't want to live off of the pass game as we've seen in other years. We want to go to our bread and butter and have our running game there so it can keep our defense on the sideline, have them rested, and be fresh leg when they come back in and play.
I do agree, and I believe what I said a couple weeks ago is that this season is going to be different than any other season for Alabama running back staff, because instead of having just a 1-2 punch, we did see that this week, but I believe that 3 or 4 back set is going to be rotating, and they're not going to know. You still have Jones back there, you still have Yeldon, and everybody's back there. They're all ready to play, and they all have talent, and very, very great talent, and they can all display something different. And you still got, I believe, Tenpen. You've got so many running backs you can't even remember all their names. You have so many weapons back there. It's just ridiculous how much of this weapons in this background. You still have Dustin Fowler back there too. It's just
and don't forget D. Hart, who's still saying, I still want to play. I'm going to stay healthy and still play. And the game of Alabama against Ole Miss on this past Saturday. Kicker Kane Foster he made 3 field goals in this game, including a 53-yard field goal. Kane Foster was the leader As far as points go, going towards halftime, he had 3 field goals. Halftime score was 9-0. He really came up huge. Alabama's had big-time kickers in previous years, including guys like Jamie Christensen, Jeremy Shelley, of course, in 2011, his poetic justice moment, making 5 and 7 field goals, and of course, Lee Tippett. So Cole, Kate Foster, a huge day on the field goal aspect. As far as punting is concerned, Cody Mandel had a huge game. 5 punts for 231 yards, average 46.2 yards per punt. And he had 3 punts that pinned Ole Miss inside the 20. His last one pinned them inside the 5 and helped the Alabama defense capture that safety going towards the end of the game. But guys, in your eyes, how did special teams play a huge role in this one?
Well, for me, I really think that special teams has turned into one of our really unsung weapons this year. And it's probably one of the most effective special teams in the nation. The run is good, the pass is good, our defense is, it's always been good, but our special teams has always been kind of shaky. This year, our special teams has been elite from anywhere. Kate Foster hits a 53-yard field goal, almost halfway across the yard line. We can score from anywhere. All we have to do is crash the 50 right now. That's insane. I almost thought, literally, we're just going to have to get past the Alabama A symbol on the field, and he's going to kick the ball and score 3 points every single time. Now, can the offense get to that side of the field more consistently? Hopefully, because then we'll be able to have a lot more strengths in our kicking game, which really doesn't have any holes in it at this point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it seems like this year the Alabama special teams have had more of an opportunity this year with the struggles on the offensive side of the ball. And it seems like this year the Alabama team as an overall is reverting back to the old ways where it used to be believed that Alabama defense is going to pitch a shutout every game or play a dominant defensive game. And it seems like the offense would just be there barely getting by and just trying to rescue and put some points up on the board so the defense can have something to go play for. But going back to special teams, yes, it's been very much improved last year. I still get a little nervous when Christian Jones goes back there going after every punt that he sees, believing he has to touch it every single time. I wish he would stop doing that at every opportunity he gets. But moving on from that, yes, the kicking game, Kate Foster had a great game. I think the 53-yard field goal, I was not expecting that from anywhere. He got us the lead. I believe we went up 9-0 in that game. Because of him, we had a pretty decent lead, but we wouldn't have to be worried. Of course, you did want more touchdowns scored, but if you have a kicking game that you can rely on, it's a little better than having just be a blank 0 up on the scoreboard.
Special teams did play a huge role in this game, guys. As far as the offense now is concerned, quarterback A.J. McCarron didn't really have to do too much in this game. I mean, of course, he went 25 for 32, 78% of his passes completed for 180 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interceptions. Now, be there as it may. Amari Cooper and Kevin Norwood were a little bit banged up coming into the game, but the offensive line asserted themselves, the run game as well. So A.J. didn't really have to do too much, but he only had 3 interceptions off last year. He has 3 interceptions so far this year. Do you think that A.J.'s forced it a bit, or what's going on?
I think that's just the offensive play calling. I think Doug Nussmeier wants A.J. to have command of this offense. He wants to give A.J. the ball in his hands. He said, I feel comfortable with you throwing the ball. And really, he hasn't shown them anything negative to say that they shouldn't trust him. I mean, yes, he threw an interception against Texas A&M, but then he also put up 49 points on them. Well, 34. The defense had another touchdown.
Defense had another touchdown.
Got a couple touchdowns. But really, A.J. McCarron hasn't done anything necessarily wrong, but for Alabama fans, he hasn't lived up to that standard. And that standard was a little bit way too high coming into the season now that we look back on it. But I still think he has room to improve and will probably, again, command this offense the way he normally does. I think the offensive line is not as good as it was, of past years. But at the same time, it is still very serviceable. It still is going to be able to get you yardage. So he's got to find a way, or not really find a way, he's just got to rally really his offense because it is in his command. He is a little offensive coordinator on the field. And then to the point where they're getting points and they're making drives and they're keeping their defense on the sideline so they're rested up. But right now, I'm not so worried about that.
Right now, I'm not worried about it a little bit to an extent, as I always say each week. It is play calling someone. I believe this year they're going for more of the big play factor, as in previous years. I've seen a lot more, and AJ has overthrown him, which I believe from a quarterback, you'd rather have him overthrow it than underthrow it and be an interception easily. So from that situation, yes, I do believe AJ is getting more opportunity, and he's just adjusting to the opportunity where now we are still a run-based team, but we're letting him take more downfield options without even doing a play action at some points. I mean, it's just they keep passing it downfield more, and Amari Cooper just hasn't been there this whole season yet. He really just hasn't showed up yet, and I think we're all waiting on that as Alabama fans. It will eventually happen. We keep saying that each week, but we don't know when it's going to happen, so we're going to have to rely on the other receivers from our team this year. And as we talked about, the offensive line is obviously not as better as in previous years, but you have to learn to trust, like we've been saying for the whole season, and they're learning to trust more. Even when you lose a starting center, most teams would say we're worried and everything, but they trust in the backup, the veteran leadership of the new center, and they trusted and had confidence, and they still did better in the second half.
Well, be that as it may, Alabama did defeat the Ole Miss Rebels 25-0. Vegas, the boys in Vegas, we're very happy Alabama did fulfill the point spread of 17.5 point spread by defeating Ole Miss 25-0. But now we're going to get into this week right here. It is homecoming, the festivities, homecoming king and queen.
Just queen here.
Just queen here?
There's
no king. This is queen. Oh my goodness. The homecoming queen, the Tadas,
The bonfire,
the Tadas of homecoming week is upon the University of Alabama, and it will coordinate in this game right here between Alabama and Georgia State. Georgia State coming into this game 0-4 on the year, but they do have something that Alabama once had. Coach Bill Curry, who was with Alabama from 1987 to 1989. Now, be that as he did not beat Auburn, but Bill Curry was here from 1987 to 1989. He is now the coach of Georgia State. Well, Georgia State coming into this game, they're going to be severely undermanned. Their line, defensive and offensive line, they don't have many guys that go 300 pounds plus versus Alabama that does have that to its disposal. The point spread coming into the game, guys in Vegas have this point spread as a 57 point spread coming in. The one bright spot for Georgia State is they do have a physical receiver at 6'3", 190 pounds by the name of, by the name of Robert Davis. Very physical guy, can take the top of a deep with speed, has pretty good hands, can make the catch in traffic, and can run crisp routes with that being the only physical guy that Georgia State has on its offense of weaponry. But they do have another receiver, 5'9", by the name of Alvin Wilson. He is their leading receiver with 22 receptions for 457 yards and 4 touchdowns. Quarterback of that team, Ronnie Bell, only 5'11", 180 pounds. He's very athletic, has 774 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But my question here for you guys, it's homecoming week. Coach Saban's MO is just improve. We don't have the things we had last season, but that doesn't stop us from trying to have a productive year this season. Their goal this season is just improve, keep buying into the process, and get better. So being that the fact that this homecoming week, how does Alabama just stay focused and not try to buy into the hype that it's homecoming week?
I mean, I don't believe it's just homecoming week hype. I believe it's just the fact that, yes, it's homecoming, but you have Georgia State coming to town, a football program that's not even been around for a decade yet. I mean, it's an up-and-start program now. You have to face them on homecoming. I believe it's a little more or less important in college than it is in high school years. Remember, in high school, homecoming was the thing that the game that you waited for. In college, it's still a game that you wait for. It's still festivities during the week, but I just believe that they know what they're going to be doing. They obviously know who they're going to be facing. This is Georgia State. This is not Georgia, not LSU, not Arkansas, not A&M. This is Georgia State, a team that you pretty much should handle very easily and get them out the way. I think it's just the fact that they have to keep their eyes on the main prize. They have to know that this game is a building block to the future steps where if they want to be in another BCS national title game, this game they have to win. Each win counts no matter what the margin of victory is. You can blow out them by 49, beat them by 85. It doesn't matter. A win is a win. And I just don't believe Alabama will put up, I believe they'll put up a lot of points, obviously, because it's Georgia State, but I don't believe they'll beat them by the spread of 57 points just because that's just not the Alabama way. Eventually they start slowing down. Saban's never been the one that tries to run up a score on purpose. I just believe this game will be not as bad, but it will be a pretty bad game. If you want to watch a blowout and watch players you probably want to see for the future for Alabama football, you might want to watch this game very closely.
And to add on to what Ivan said, this game is another survivor advance game, just like every game is this season. You keep winning to have a chance at the Crystal Trophy. And for Alabama and Nick Saban, I think Nick Saban is going to do what he does every week: get his team ready, prepared to play. And I think the team is going to go out there and respond. And they're going to be a little lackadaisical. It is Georgia State. They did go 1-10 last year. It is Bill Curry, so they might not beat up on him as much as you would expect. But it is still going to be a game that's going to be won very easily by Alabama. And to continue on with sort of what Ivan was saying, we're going to see a lot of freshmen this game. We're going to see a lot of players who want to have time in this game and want to have time on this team going forward. So we'll probably see a lot of Derrick Henry. We'll probably see definitely a lot of Alton Tenfield. We're going to see Eddie Jackson. This is a building block game, like Ivan said, and we're going to just keep, progressing. That's all it is. We're just going to keep on progressing as the weeks go by and hopefully keep evolving as a team. We don't want to take a step back after we had such a great week against Ole Miss, where we showed the nation that, hey, we're still the #1 team, that we still have this defense that you're going to have to worry about, and 2 running backs that are probably faster than anybody in the league. So, that being said, it's still Georgia State. I don't know if that means it's going to be a really, really boring ESPN game that comes on at 1 or 12, but the Crimson Tide are going to be playing, so I'm definitely going to be watching.
Definitely, I'm out there, Alabama fans, Alabama faithful, and students, faculty, and staff will be watching that game. But going back to what you said about progression moving forward, their match, after winning 2 back-to-back national titles, after winning 3 national titles in a 4-year span here at the University of Alabama, how hard is it to not get complacent, to not just rest on where we're Alabama, we won 2 BCS titles, we won 3 in a 4-year span, we're Alabama, we just walk in and go, hold on, what happens? How hard is it for those guys to go in and not be complacent, but to fight as if you never won nothing?
Well, really, I don't know where people are getting complacent from, because really not a lot of these players have, enjoyed, the riches of winning multiple titles. Really the headline people on our team that have enjoyed multiple titles are the leadership, and they understand not getting complacent. And that's A.J. McCarron and C.J. Mosley. And all the way down, really people haven't played in most of these championship games. You got Yeldon, who played last year. Kenny Drake didn't really have a role in the championship game last year, except to run down the final minutes of the game. Amari Cooper, yes, he was very, very instrumental in that game, but he's only won 1. I don't think he's going to get complacent, because I feel like they want more. And I think that's why so many people come here. They want to challenge themselves to be the best that they can be with one of the best coaches in college football.
I mean, Coach Saban said it best during an interview in the preseason. This last season's title was the hardest title he's ever had to win, because last year's team did have experience in winning titles, and they weren't complacent, but they were automatically assuming that it would be the same path as they had in previous years. And it's kind of hard for people just to sit there and say, I've already got 1 championship ring, why do I need to get more? So that's where the motivation starts for this season's team. You've only got 1 ring, but look at your teammates. AJ's trying to get his 3rd ring in 4 years as a starter here in Alabama. CJ Mosley's trying to get his 3rd ring. Everybody's trying to get another ring for their fingers, but you have to make sure that the rest of the team is still hungry, because sometimes players just get happy. I've got my 1 shot, I got my 1 minute, 15 minutes of fame in the sunlight. Like, you can't be complacent, and that's the biggest problem from last year's team, where everybody somewhat complacent until the A&M game, because they thought it was going to be an easy game coming off the LSU game. And they don't want that to happen this year. They don't want a team to sneak up out of nowhere. Obviously, Georgia State, I'm not even going to say they're not going to be that. They're not going to be that team for this season. It can come later on in the season, but that's what you have to be worried about. That A&M game that you had last year to come up, because you were complacent a little bit. You weren't prepared. You were ill prepared as you were for the other games in the season.
But going back to this week right here, it is Georgia State. How can Georgia State, how can Bill Curry coach his team to kind of get them ready to play, knowing that they're undersized, they're undermanned, they're coming into a hostile environment on homecoming week at the University of Alabama at Bryant-Denny Stadium? How can Coach Curry look at this guy and say, hey, we got to play a football game?
I mean, you're going against the #1 team in the nation. What FCS school doesn't want to upset a big FBS school? Like
Appalachian State,
for example, against Michigan. Like, once you win this game, if you can, you're going to be known in history for doing that. And I think Bill Curry is going to, of course, motivate his team. You guys want to make history today. And I think that Georgia State will come out to play. They do run the triple option, and that has given us fits in the past before, especially against Georgia State a couple years ago.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
They were the person who scored more points than anybody else that season in 2011. But that being said, I don't think you're going to stop anybody on this offense or defense who is going to lose to Georgia State. I don't see that happening. And I don't think anybody else in the world sees that happening.
Don't see that happening at all that, Maxwell. But going to the last, one of the final issues here of this segment, big-time leader of this defense, especially the Alabama defense, Haseen Clinton-Diggs has been suspended indefinitely for the time for violating team rules. One of the bigger leaders on the secondary, along with Benny Sinceri, Clinton-Diggs, a very ball-hawking safety, can read coverage, can shut down the run, can really guard an opponent, take away an opponent's best receiver. How big is this? Is this more of a setback for Alabama, being we don't know how long suspension will be? According to head coach Nick Saban, they're not giving us a set date of how long the suspension will be. But is this a real huge setback for the Crimson Tide not having to play this game?
I mean, I believe this is just mostly a message to the team saying no man is above team rules. Whatever Coach Saban says and whatever team rules are, you must obey by them. As the team has said it straight, you cannot, nobody's above it. I believe he's saying nobody is safe. Anybody can be taken out at any time, yelled at, and everybody has to be on their best behavior at all times. You're representing the University of Alabama as a whole. When you do that, you have to make sure you put yourself in a great class act. Everybody always says when Alabama goes on a big game road trip or any road trip, they treat it like a business trip. Most teams treat it as a vacation or the game where they say, hey, we're playing a bigger team, or we're playing a team that we know that we can lose to, let's just be happy that we're here. Alabama doesn't do that. They say we're here to do work and we're here to go back to Tuscaloosa. Win or lose, we're going to have the same mentality every week.
Kick butt and take that later.
Yeah, exactly.
And this will be a really, really good transition period for Landon Collins. He's had a lot bigger roles as the games have progressed this season. From being a special teams standout to now somebody just getting on the field more than just like twice a game. He's there in sets for quarters and halves. Like now, I think this is the time for him to transition into not a full-time starter, but to at least get him acclimated to that starting role. And I would say this is a good thing for our defense. It's never a good thing to have one of your teammates be suspended for violating school rules, but this is going to give Alabama time to adjust with new people and new personnel at that position. It's just a way of saying, I guess we're just trying to see if everybody else is living up to that standard, not just the third-year players or the four-year players, but including the first-year and the second-year players.
And it's not just Landon Collins in fact, when you look at Geno Smith, making more Geno into that spot, making more possibly Dylan Lee into that spot, Eddie Jackson making a chance in that spot, who knows? But also, this is big for the leadership of Benny Sinceri, because now he steps into that leadership role in this game against Georgia State. Keep in mind, Sinceri does have 2 pick sixes on the season, and that's really come to play. It's becoming more than just a special teams guy. He's becoming one of the leaders, one of the big-time playmakers in that secondary. But we're going to get into the predictions of this game. Alabama and Georgia State. Remember, it is an early game. Kickoff is set to be at around 11, 12 o'clock, somewhere in that time frame. But it is an early game. Predictions for this Alabama versus Georgia State. Starting off with you, Maxwell. What's your score for this one?
I think we will respect it a little bit more because it is Bill Curry. He is a former head coach here at the university. But we got to remember that it's Georgia State. They've won one game this year. They're a brand new program. They've been around for about 6 years, 7 years. I'm gonna go. I don't think we'll blank them. We probably will, but I'm gonna go with a score of like 49-0.
49-0. Hello. Isn't that the score from the Auburn game that season?
Auburn game and the Western Carolina. Those 2 teams play like
49-0, Ivan.
I'm going to give them the benefit of a doubt. I'll say they'll get 7 points up on like Ole Miss did. I just believe so. Some of the backups and the newer guys will just give them that 1 touchdown. And obviously the rest of the defense will be upset with them, but they'll have to learn to get past that. My prediction, I I don't like this score, but I'm going to say 56-7.
56 is, oh, he's crossed the 40s on 15 counting. Ivan White has officially crossed the 40s.
I just believe that they will score. The only thing that kind of scares me, though, is I'm not sure if Blake Sims is going to throw the ball this week at all, as is maybe besides a screen pass. I mean, obviously, maybe we'll see a little bit more from him, but I believe we'll see a lot of Blake Sims, and that means a lot of run. But I do see special teams having a lot of big plays this week, though.
Why haven't we talked about that? Blake Sims, like, come on. I wasn't here the game after he threw that touchdown pass to Chris Black.
Ivan White called it. What you call
I
that?
said we saw history in the making. History in the making of Bryant. Blake Sims threw a touchdown pass, something I never thought I'd see in my
Stop the presses. Blake Sims threw the football. But you're going 49-0. You're going 56 to 7. I'm going to actually stay in the 40s. I'm going to go 45-0. I honestly think that the Alabama defense, one thing a defense does is to pitch a shutout. When you pitch a shutout, it shows that your whole defense was on sync, was in sync, they were in tune and in cue with each other. And so I think that the Alabama defense, that they crave and they enjoyed that shutout from Ole Miss this past week, and they will love to have it again this week against Georgia State. I think that the Alabama offense, AJ, will come to play. I think this will be a good game for the offensive line to really continue to improve as a line, helping Yeldon, helping Drake, helping Tenpenny, Henry. That whole host of Alabama running backs have a big game on the ground. The receiving corps will come to play. Special teams will come to play. I think Alabama will have a phenomenal game as a whole. But that's all for Alabama. Georgia State. Now it's time for some of these SEC matchups coming from around the nation. One of the first SEC matchups I'm looking at here on this slate this weekend happens to be Georgia versus Tennessee. Georgia versus Tennessee looks interesting. You have the number 6 Georgia going up against Tennessee. And I'm going to let Maxwell take it from there. What do you see in this one, Maxwell?
Really, I see Georgia coming off a big victory against LSU. 44-41 was the score, I believe.
44-41. Zach Mettenberg was spinning the bean in that matchup, though.
Spinning the bean, but apparently Aaron Murray can spin it just a little bit better. No disrespect to Todd Gurley, but Aaron Murray really came to play that game, and I think he's going to come off that big win and completely torch the Tennessee secondary, as he should, because he is Aaron Murray, a 5-year starter. So I do see the Bulldogs going in and just absolutely destroying Tennessee. I don't think there's a fight left.
I see a little bit different. I could see Georgia coming out that big win and saying we beat them. We survived that first month of the season, and everybody had said if we can survive the first month, we're in the clear. I said this last week. Tennessee didn't live up to the hype last week for me. I thought Tennessee would put up a bigger fight against Florida. I can see Tennessee not winning the game. I don't think it'll be close, but I think they can do what North Texas did to Georgia.
Hold on. I'm sorry, right there. Tennessee competes with Georgia? Are you kidding?
I'm saying that right now. Well, we said that a couple weeks ago. North Texas versus Georgia.
Oh, okay.
21-21 at halftime.
Okay.
21-21 at halftime. I think Tennessee can do that. I do think they'll lose in a blowout, but I do think they'll hang around for a little bit, because I think Georgia showed in that North Texas game. They are susceptible to underrating teams as to what they have talent-wise.
It's the game being played in the checkered field end zone stadium known as Neyland Stadium.
I believe it is. That's the game in Knoxville.
It's the Rocky Top. Oh my!
See, and that's my point exactly. It's a home game for Tennessee. That stadium's gonna be rocking. Georgia's coming into town. They just came off a big win.
Smokey the dog. The battle for 2 dogs against Smokey.
They're gonna be ready, and that's why I believe they'll hang around. I believe Georgia will eventually pull off a win in the later moments in the second half, but I just think they'll hang around for a while longer than what everybody thinks.
If the game is being played in Knoxville, fellas, this will be the first time we get to see Aaron Murray on the road. And what I've been watching hinting to on the past couple weeks of the show, can Aaron Murray really go out there and win a big time road game if the game is played in Rocky Top and Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. But I too hold Georgia in this game. It's not just for Aaron Murray, because of Todd Gurley, because of Chief Marshall, because of that Georgia defense. Can they really come out there and slow down, take the Tennessee crowd out of the game? Because just like A&M fans and Alabama fans, those Tennessee fans are hostile too. They can make some noise too. So this would be a game for the Georgia defense. Can they really come out there and show that they can be dominant and take the Tennessee crowd, Tennessee offense out of this football game? But Maxwell, Butch Jones, he's at home with his team. The crowd's going to be behind him. What does he need to say to get into his guys' minds? Say, guys, we're bringing between the hedges right here to Neiman. What do we got to do with this one?
This is a statement game for Tennessee. If they come out and play, just like Ivan says, competes, which I don't think they will do. No disrespect to the Tennessee faithful. I just believe that Georgia's a better team overall, and they've just come off a huge win, and I don't think anybody's going to slow them down. But, as you said, they did get through that first half of the schedule, and they might like to lead it all. But for Butch Jones to come in with the upset, the secondary has to play lights out. That's really it. They have to take the game away from Aaron Murray and let Todd Gurley beat them on the floor. Now, Todd Gurley is a came back that can probably do that, but Tennessee's front seven is pretty good at what it does, and its job is to sort of stop the run. Even though it could not do that against Oregon, but Oregon is faster than the speed of light.
They are faster than the speed of light.
They had a 21-second drill. Oh, that was a game. But back to that, for them to be competitive, I do think Georgia will win that game. Butch Jones will get his team hyped up and ready to play. And, you know, I still just don't see them winning. I just don't see them really competing. I really don't think Georgia's going to slow their roll after having 2 disappointing seasons in a row, and both usually ending up at the SEC championship game, which looks like a collision course that they're headed. I just don't see them slowing up. I don't think they'll take another loss this year.
Going back to what Steven said about Aaron Murray, I don't believe this is one of those games where a marquee road game where he can win. But for Aaron Murray, if you do happen to lose this game, which by the way I'm not even predicting, I'm just predicting they'll hang around for a little bit. But if he does happen to lose this game, he will also get an eraser, erase all the stuff that has happened in the previous games this season, because all his hard work will be erased because you won the home games. But again, Aaron Murray, you go on the road. It's not even a big marquee game. It's just getting wins on the road, and you're erasing all the hard work with the top 10 teams that you defeated. And you're just going and erasing all that away just because you can't win one game against Tennessee on the road, which you should win, even though it's a hostile crowd. And I'm going with the Oregon theory here. Tennessee is displaying some new uniforms this week if you happen to see them online. They're not.
Are we seriously throwing uniform swag?
Throwing uniforms out there. I mean, you throw a curveball in the lineup sometimes it gets the team extra motivated. Oregon has a different uniform per game. I think that's the most.
I mean, look at they got Mark Helfrich. He's from Nike. I mean, come on.
I mean, I think that'll motivate them a little bit. I mean, it could be me just trying to find any way to keep Tennessee in this game, but I do think the new uniform thing could hang out with them. I mean, every player loves something new.
That's what they got to
in Tennessee, except for us. Well, we're tradition based.
Tradition.
I mean,
except for us,
our tradition is winning.
I guess adding new crystal balls to the display case. That's the only thing new we do here.
And getting new T-shirts.
Yeah, getting new T-shirts every year. But I do think that the uniforms, even though they do look atrocious with the light blue coming to Tennessee with the orange and white, I don't know how it's going to work. But still, I think that would motivate them a little more too.
Unfortunately, on Pitching the County, we do not have headgear, but guess what? We do make predictions here on this show. And the first prediction is going to come from this Georgia-Tennessee matchup, starting off with you, Maxwell. Georgia-Tennessee, may not be a marquee road game for Aaron Murray, statement game for Butch Jones. What do you see here in this matchup?
As I said before, they're going to try to stop Aaron Murray, but for some reason I think that Todd Gurley will have, his another sort of addition to his Heisman candidacy. He'll probably
another field round for Todd Gurley.
Another field day for Todd Gurley. He'll probably have 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. Really, after he gets those 2 touchdowns, I think they're going to have enough points on the board where he doesn't even have to come out and play. I'm going to go 45-0. I think they will blank Tennessee. Georgia's defense is young, but after what they did to LSU last weekend with Metberg, who is showing that he is an accomplished quarterback, I just don't see Tennessee having the receivers to go up and get the ball over these safeties like Swan or their quarterbacks. I just don't see it happening. Really, not at all.
I'm going to go 48-28.
Ooh!
Tennessee will hang around for a while. Georgia is going to be a little bit too much for them. They will put up points. They put up points on Florida's defense, even though they're on the mend right now. They'll put up points on Georgia's defense, who's still, people keep forgetting, they're still a very young defense. This will be a big road test for them. I think it's going to be their biggest road test thus far, with the noise from Bryant-Denny Stadium going to be coming out of there. But 48-28 is going to be my score right now.
45-0. 48-28. I'm going to go with 41-20. The reason why I'm saying that, Aaron Murray will have a big game. Aaron Murray will have a big game throwing the football. As Maxwell said, Ty Gurley is a man amongst boys out there. Ty Gurley have a phenomenal day running the football. But I think in the first half, Tennessee will compete with Georgia. I think that the crowd behind Neyland Stadium, inside Neyland Stadium, and I think that the offense and the defense of Tennessee will come together and will gel for the most part. But I think in the second half, once Gurley gets those legs churning and Aaron Murray is there to find his receivers downfield, I think Georgia will pull away from Tennessee and win 41-20 against Tennessee in Rocky Top and Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. A second game here on this list that will pose as interesting is Ole Miss and Auburn. This is an interesting game because Auburn is actually surprisingly pretty good this season. Many people are not talking about them. They're not talking about what Gus Malzahn is doing, but shy under the radar here, Auburn's doing pretty good. So Auburn, Ole Miss, what do you see here?
Ole Miss is one PO team right now. I know they are.
They came in with so much swagger and hype.
I came with so much swagger and hype, and I know I said it last week, and if I get it wrong this week, I will give up on the guy. Jeff Scott will have a big game this week.
He's doing it again. He's throwing the wild card. Jeff Scott back in the fire.
Throwing it back in the fire again.
That's nothing on Jeff Scott. That's nothing on
We're
Jeff
playing
Scott.
Yu-Gi-Oh! We're throwing the blue eyes dragon of Jeff Scott.
I'm just throwing it out there. I just believe Jeff Scott this week against a defense that is nowhere near as good as talented as Alabama's defense is. I believe that they will be a much more improved team, and obviously you can't get any worse. You got blanked out of a team against a team where you talk all this mess the whole weekend, and you just.
Well, you don't blame Jeff Scott. That's Bo Wallace. You don't blame Jeff Scott.
Which, I mean, if I was Jeff Scott, I'd be telling Bo Wallace just to wear his mouthpiece the entire week during the press conference and just say, "Don't talk anymore this week, buddy. Let's just
play football."
Let's concentrate.
So, Jeff Scott is the savior of Ole Miss.
Yeah.
You and Jeff Scott.
I have faith in
I like Jeff Scott. I really do. He has incredible runs, incredible vision. But really, I think this is going to be a standout game for Dante Moncrief. Why did I say that, Dante Moncrief? He didn't really have a big game against Alabama, even though he did have 6 targets, 60 yards. I think he's probably the most productive receiver in the NCAA and in the SEC. And look for him to eat big. Really, really eat big.
He's on Laquan Treadwell?
I don't know about Laquan Treadwell. Laquan Treadwell has a lot of special plays. He's a very good player. Has a lot of the big breakout plays and good touchdowns. But Dante Moncrief, you got to feed that man. That man's going to catch anything that comes to him, and he's going to gain yards. So expect him to have a huge game. Auburn is going to come to play them. They are very underrated.
Nick Marshall's pretty good.
Nick Marshall's a very good quarterback, and I know that we are the University of Alabama, so we have this hate thing against Auburn. But Auburn is very underrated, and I think Gus Malzahn is pushing them in the right direction. And I really love that because I want this rivalry to be epic, Alabama and Auburn. But that being said, I think I'm going to give it to Auburn this week with the win. And a surprise. I know that sounds weird and unjust of me as an Alabama fan, but I feel like Auburn is building that momentum. They're building that repertoire. They might not be getting as many wins as Ole Miss or any marquee victories, but they're getting those moral victories. And I know that sounds terrible for Auburn saying that from an Alabama fan, but really what they did against LSU, what they did against Miss State, you have to gain your confidence back after going 0-9 in the SEC last season and then switching over to a brand new head coach, even though he was your offensive coordinator during the 2010 season. But I expect Auburn to come out and play. They want to show that the state of Alabama, not just the University of Alabama, is the heavyweight in football and not the state of Mississippi. And if Auburn does beat Ole Miss, just like they beat Mississippi State this year, and if we handle business against Mississippi State, the state of Alabama will have beaten all its teams in Mississippi, really, except for SMU this year. So I think we're going for that more than they're going for just an individual win. But I see Auburn wins in a nail biter.
A nail? Oh, hold on. What's the score of this nail biter? What's the score
of this nail biter? Well, we know that Auburn has pretty good special teams, so I'm going to go 28-21. I'm going to give them a touchdown.
Oh my, 28-21 in favor of Auburn. Ivan.
The only reason I don't want to pick Auburn in this game, not only because we're rivals, which I wouldn't let that get in the way, but the Mississippi State game, I just keep thinking back to that game You're at home. You're facing Mississippi State. They're not a very good team.
They also don't have Tyler Russell.
You shouldn't be letting that team hang around with you. And yes, they did step up more in the LSU game, but I predict Ole Miss after the atrocious showing they had at Bryant-Denny last week. I just believe they can't do any worse, and I believe that they're going to come out. Again, Jeff Scott and Bo Wallace and the boys, Monty Green and all of them are going to start lighting it up.
Cam
The Camdici brothers are definitely going to step up their game this week. So I'm picking Ole Miss 35-21.
Oh, reminiscent of the Maxwell Taylor Alabama A&M score, 35-21 there.
Right for like 20 minutes.
It was like
I was right for like 20 minutes. I was in that stadium like, oh man.
He's got it. Hey, oh man. But you're going 28-21, you're going 35-21. You're in favor of Auburn, you're in favor of Ole Miss. I too am going to be in favor.
Not in favor of Auburn. I just said they were going to win.
He says Auburn's going to win the game, but I too am going to go with the Auburn Tigers. And the reason why is, as Maxwell mentioned, Gus Malzahn does have his finger on the pulse there. Nick Marshall is doing pretty well at quarterback. And don't forget, Trey Mason is the running back of the Auburn Tigers, and he too is very elusive and fast in his own right. I think Auburn's defense will come to play. I think Ole Miss will rebound and score in this game versus not scoring against Alabama. But I think Auburn has something to prove in this game, and I'm going to go with Auburn winning by the final score of 27. We are now going to our national games of the week, and starting off with the first national game in college football this weekend. We have here the Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Northwestern Wildcats. Big game here for the Buckeyes. Braxton Mills, second game back from injury. Northwestern always be one of those teams that kind of lingers around in the top 25. Starting off with Maxwell, how do you see this one?
I see this as a complete dominant win for Ohio State. There's nothing to it. Urban Meyer is going to keep his team hungry, and he's going to go into Chicago, Illinois, where Northwestern is, and completely dominate. I see Northwestern hanging around for the first 2 quarters, but with the coach and the way that Urban Meyer coaches his team to play offense and defense for 4 quarters of football is very reminiscent to Nick Saban. It's going to be, I wouldn't say a bloodbath, but it's going to be an eye-opener to a lot of people. Not because that the Big Ten is, not as good as it usually is, but that Ohio State is sort of for real. They do have a bunch of playmakers all over that field, not only on offense, but as defense as well. Ryan Shazier is one heck of a linebacker. Bradley Robbie is one heck of a cornerback. Braxton Miller is a very good option quarterback. He can throw it. Not only that, they get so many different looks at quarterback, you don't know which one's starting. Kenny Guyton can also rally the troops if needed. I just don't see a lot of holes in Ohio State yet. Yes, they lost their starting safety, but they're putting in a 5-star safety at Von Bell, which will be his first start and all that. But he is a very suitable replacement for this game, and he will have to